This donkey had been so badly abused he was left barely being able to walk. And he now lives here at a shelter in West Yorkshire. I'm Izzy and I visit different animal shelters across the UK, raising awareness on the ones you don't often see on mainstream media. And today we've come to the Wonkey Donkeys Visitors Centre in West Yorkshire. Now they've been rescuing and rehoming donkeys since 2015, and it all started with a broken foot. Meet Jenny. Now Jenny was 10 years old when she developed conversion syndrome after breaking her foot. This is basically where the body is unable to handle the pain of something, it completely shuts down.
So overnight I lost the ability to read, write, I couldn't add 1 and I was left with these dizzy spells and I would drop to the floor and I wouldn't be able to walk for 24 hours. I'd gone from a kid that had always enjoyed going to school to one that would just sit and rock because there was nothing that I could do.
And then one day, what Jenny describes as completely out the blue,
I asked for a donkey. So my mum said no, and my aunties went out and got me one anyway. And at this time I was still off school and I was still in the process of trying to learn how to read and write again because it never came back. I had to learn completely from scratch. This one particular day I sat my mum down and made her a cup of tea and I said, I would really love to have a donkey sanctuary.
And today you'll be meeting some of the donkeys that need adopting right now, some of which have been through the most heartbreaking experiences.
So he was skin and bones and he was so poorly he could barely walk. She was terrified of you walking behind her. She'd been abused and not handled for quite a few years. He couldn't move his neck and we thought that he'd broken something, in which case he would have actually had to be put down. It was just horrific, the sight of them both.
So who do we have here?
So this one is Samson and he is actually one that we rescued in 2023 along with 2 other donkeys that were heavily in fall. These had actually been alerted to us and they weren't with very nice people whatsoever. Samson was very, very poorly, so he was skin and bones and he was so poorly he could barely walk. Now he is actually part mammoth donkey, so obviously he's quite big, but because he's had he's been so malnourished really as a foal, he's not as big as he should be, so he has a lot of problems with his legs and things like that. And he's now, oh gosh, he will now be 7, which is shocking. I can't believe it already. So yeah, when he came, he was one where he was so malnourished that we really had to start feeding him carefully because your donkeys, they have to have very low protein diets. They can't have much hay. They mainly eat barley straw, and this is because they're desert animals. They originate from Africa. And so he was one where we had to feed him little and often as to not overdo it because he had never really had that much food before. And as you can tell now, he's quite a big lad. He loves his food. But he's taken a long time to work with in his rehabilitation because he has been abused. And he is a gentle giant. He's lovely. But every now and then it's almost as if something triggers him and he is so terrified. It's unbelievable. My mum always says it'd be so nice if you could sit them down and they could tell you what scares them because you could avoid it and you could work through it and things like that. So it is it's very much, we have to be very, very careful working with them when we first get them in. And his main thing is to have to get comfortable and feel like they're at home. And he is at that stage now. But he's our biggest donkey, and in the big boys group we have 2 miniature donkeys that boss him around all day. he's really quite sweet. So this is Robbie and he's actually our oldest donkey here. He's 33 years old And he is an ex-seaside donkey, so he's mainly worked at Blackpool and Scarborough Beach, and he did that for 24 years before retiring to us. And he is a grumpy old man. He's lovely, but he has actually got a couple of health problems. So he really suffers with his breathing. So he actually has to have a nebulizer to help with that. He constantly has runny eyes, and that's from literally years of being on the sand. So he gets irritated with his eyes very, very easily. He always has to have sun cream on his nose in summer, and he looks like a monster in summer as well because he has fly rugs galore. He needs a full fly rug, a face mask. He even has to have boots on and leg wraps because the flies just target him. So he's very much one that we have to keep an eye on. He gets lots of extra care and attention. We have two wonderful donkeys here, Finn and Rolo. This one is Finn, who wants all the attention at the front, and Rolo is just at the back. And these boys we've had for coming up 11 years. So we rescued them in December of 2015, and they came from Ireland, and they were both so poorly. So Finn, he was only 18 months old at the time, and when he got here, we were absolutely, it was just horrific, the sight of them both. But he was skin and bones. He couldn't move his neck, and we thought that he'd broken something, in which case he would have actually had to be put down. But as luck would have it, when they were microchipping them and passporting him for him to come over, he had no fat for his microchip to go into, so it went straight into his muscle. And he had to be hand-fed for the first 4 weeks that he was here because he couldn't move his neck. And then he was covered in this awful tar substance all over his legs and his belly, which took 2 years to be able to get off him completely. And even now, he is one of our friendliest donkeys. But even now, if you go to groom under his belly, if he's not in the mood, he absolutely freaks out about it. It's really strange how sometimes it can just flip him back. But I always get told off for Finn, because he has this thing where he really likes his neck scratching, and if you don't, he will stand and he will kick the door, or if you stood with him, he will actually paw at you until you stand and scratch him. But he's an absolute delight. I love him. And everyone always asks me, do you have a favourite donkey? And I always say no, because how I can choose, but how could I possibly choose? But Finn really is my baby. They all are, but I think he's a special one. They're all special, but I think every now and then there's the ones that you have to give extra time and attention to, you can't help but fall for them a little bit more. And I often find that when I've got a donkey that's aging and I'm having to do a lot more care with them, they sort of become the one that takes priority. But then Rolo, he is a gentle giant. He's the nicest donkey you could ever wish to meet. He actually had been castrated over in Ireland with no anaesthetic and no proper equipment. And when he arrived with us, his castration had been done 3 weeks earlier and he was still losing blood. So he was in a very sort of urgent situation. And every day the vet had to go and reopen his wound and flush it out. And I think that was for maybe 3 weeks. And he'd never once tried to kick. He was just so good about the whole thing. It was almost like he knew that we were helping him. And he's actually got, in his mane, which I think is quite a nice point in him, he's got a patch of hair which is so white, and it's where he's been tethered, and he's had the head collar on so tight it's killed all the hair follicles. But it does actually add something nice to his coat, but it's not nice how he got it. But these two really are therapy donkeys. Rolo does a lot for a lot of people, and Finn just makes everyone smile, which is really nice. These two don't actually travel out and about to different places. I have 2 miniature donkeys that go out to care homes and they go to schools and wherever they're asked, really, but these two do more of it at home. So we actually have our big girl group here. So I'll start with Bonnie, since she is being lovely and friendly at the minute. And Bonnie we rescued in 2018. She's a lovely donkey, but she has been very badly abused. So for the first year that we had her, she literally couldn't leave a stable because she wouldn't be caught. It was an absolute nightmare, and it was so heartbreaking to see her. Every time you go to put a head collar on her, she would just shake from head to toe. And she's one donkey that I'm always a bit jealous of because she prefers my mum over me. And it still upsets me. But I actually had to, it took me 3 hours to catch her when we went to rescue her, and she was in an awful condition. But she just got so tuned up with my mum, and it's like I've never had a look in since. But it is lovely because she knows my mum is like her human. And she's actually set up in here now with our older donkey Bluebell and her foal Rosie. So Bluebell, she's in her 30s now, and we rescued her in May of 2016. Now she had just patches of skin that were so badly blistered you couldn't touch her anywhere other than her head. Her hoofs were deformed. She was terrified of you walking behind her. She'd been abused and not handled for quite a few years. And we didn't know it at the time of the rescue, but she was in foal. It took us to the November of the 2016 when she started getting milk, and we were like, oh my goodness, her belly is getting bigger. It looks like we're going to have a foal here. And so we started camping out because we were scared of waiting for, we were scared of missing her foal being born. And basically, donkeys can carry the foals anywhere between 11 to 14 months. We got no idea when she'd been put in foal or to what. It could have been a horse, a pony, a donkey. It was just a massive guessing game. And with her being in her 20s at the time, and having COPD, it just made it quite high risk. So we thought, we're going to have to make sure we're there. So we took it in shifts, and it took 8 weeks for her to deliver that foal. I've never been as tired in my whole life, but it was the most exciting thing ever. And I'll never forget the night she was born. It was the 27th of January, 2017. And my mum had said to me, I don't think it'll happen tonight, so you have an early night. And within 10 minutes of me getting in bed, it was like, oh, she's having the baby. And everybody, all of us visitors and followers were waiting for her to be born. And she was the most beautiful baby. And she was born with a wonky ear. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. And as she got older, it did actually straighten up. But she was born at the worst time, because you want your babies ideally born in spring and summer where they can get straight out and grass the same day that they're born, and they get all the nutrients from the grass. So from the first, I think it was 6 weeks, she was so tiny, she couldn't go out. And the first time she went out on the arena, she was so ready for it. It was unbelievable. And Rosie, she's just spoilt rotten. Everybody her whole entire life has spoiled her. She has a birthday party every year, which is one of our biggest events of the year because everybody likes to celebrate with her. But that is lovely. And I think everybody feels like she's almost their donkey. And she is. That's the whole point. Everybody says, like when we have adopted donkeys and that, they're all like, I know they're not my donkey, but they are. And I'm like, no, they are your donkey. That was a big thing for me. We wanted to create a place where you could get in and interact with the donkeys and feel like they're your donkey, they just live here. And I think that's really nice.
So what have I learnt from visiting this shelter? Firstly, there's an assumption that donkeys are stubborn, but they're actually highly intelligent. They are often neglected and put down if they can't be rehomed. And finally, they make incredible therapy animals and make a huge difference to people's mental health, such as Jenny. If you want to hear more stories like these, then do make sure you subscribe to help spread the word about these incredible shelters, and comment below where I should visit next.